Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to you. Next to you, we have the national chairperson of the ANC, but also National Assembly Speaker, the Honourable Baleka Mbete. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to you. Next to you, we have the Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Gwede Mantashe. Thank you, sir, for joining us and welcome to you. Next to you, we have the Deputy Secretary General, Jessie, Duarte. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to you. And right next to me, the keeper of the pocket, the Treasurer General, Dr. Zweli Mkhize. Thank you so much indeed and welcome to you all. All right, so let's start with you, Mr. President, if we can. On Friday, in opening the Congress, you had some very frank remarks that you made, honest thoughts and reflections that you had about the party, the challenges that it's facing. And that set up conversations that took place over the weekend. 8 commissions sat, deliberated. And yesterday you made some declarations. Now, for a lot of people that might not have been part of that and seen that, what would you say were the most important outcomes, messages that came through from the NGC?
Well, firstly, thank you very much, Peter, and thank you very much to everyone who is here in this breakfast. Firstly, let me say that we take ourselves as an ANC as the leader of the society. This is not out of anything, but it's just the historical fact. And that, therefore, when we have our major gatherings, we took a very conscious decision that they cannot be a business of the members of the ANC only. It's important that they are opened for the country when we deliberate, when we look at what we have done as the party with our government, and where do we think there are shortcomings, and where do we think we need to do more, and what do we learn from the successes and also from our weaknesses. We do this with a very clear view that the people of this country should be in a position to participate in one or the other, directly or indirectly. That's why even when we go to bigger other occasions, when, for an example, we go to the policy conference or the national conference, some of our papers that are supposed to be discussed internally in the ANC, we publish them because we would want the people to participate, to say whatever they think about the organization, to advise, to criticize. That's why when we come to a gathering like the National General Council, which is the NGC for short, we speak to ourselves, but also to the country. We therefore, on Friday, put across to ourselves what we believe are the challenges, what we also believe were the matters to be discussed by the delegates, the branches, those who represent the branches, which then on Saturday and Sunday, in fact starting from Friday, the delegations began to deliberate. What we had put, in a sense, presented the matters to be discussed, and there is no matter that was not discussed. And therefore, we're looking at the outcomes yesterday. There were many, many good outcomes, and I think almost all the issues that were put there were discussed, and there were specific resolutions taken. Quite a number of them, which I think we'll discuss this morning. In general, as we presented the declaration, we were saying this has been a good NGC. Delegates participated very enthusiastically. One of the most important outcomes, besides the content, was the fact that over a short period, we had been dealing with the internal matters of the ANC, among which would be the youth. As the leadership, together with the membership, we have invested a lot to bring back the ANC into the kind of the ANC that everybody know. And I think that was a very good result, that the conference was very disciplined, deliberated on the issues. There were no slogans, there were no anything that in the past would feel uncomfortable. Delegates were there to discuss, and they indeed discussed the issues, every other issue. And I'm sure in the open sessions, people would have seen the debates, and that whatever issue we finally came to a conclusion, we were in fact coming to a conclusion, having discussed a great deal. And what was also important, that the ANC Youth League was there, very much vibrant, but disciplined, which was a very important outcome of what the ANC has been doing over the period. So we're very happy with the outcome and with the resolutions and the proposals that were put by the delegates in the main. So we are very happy broadly, and I'm just putting it broadly without specific issue we should be dealing with in the course of time.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Deputy President, so this gathering was, I guess, the coming together of the party faithful. And I'm just wondering, if I'm sitting at home and I'm not a member of the ANC, why was this an important meeting, not just for the ANC, but for all South Africans in general?
Well, as the President said, a gathering like this of the ANC has a huge impact, not only on the ANC itself, but on the country, because of the position that the ANC occupies in the life of South Africa. And as the ANC discusses and decides and goes, so South Africa shall also go. That is by dint of the ANC's positioning in the country, its influence, and its support base. Some people may say that the ANC's membership was 1.2 million. It's now come down slightly to almost 800,000. But the ANC support base, it's millions and millions and millions of people. And South Africans have invested since 1912 their aspirations, their hopes in this organization. And so therefore, even as 3,000 people meet, they discuss a whole variety of issues. Their decisions have a broader impact, and that's why it is important for all sectors of South African life to take an interest in what the ANC discusses. And to this end, we always make sure that our discussions are open. We discuss our weaknesses, our strengths, because we belong, the ANC belongs to the South African nation. And this has been the case throughout history. So South Africa should be interested in what the ANC discusses.
Thank you very much indeed, Deputy President. Madam Chairperson, if I could turn to you. I remember on Friday, you were very careful to explain that this NGC wasn't about changing policy, but reviewing. And I'm just wondering, you've had a chance to review. What does that mean now? What happens next? What do you do with this information going forward?
I think what we should realize is that the ANC is an organization with different structures that play different roles. The NGC itself was consciously adopted as an important mechanism that in a 5-year cycle of the ANC, mid-term, we take a pause, we look at, in the implementation of resolutions from our last conference, are there issues around which there's enough concern? There are issues that we need to scrutinize and attend to, because what's going to happen is that before we go to the next conference, we will go to a forum called the Policy Conference. That's a very important structure of the ANC. Because what the ANC does is to separate a very, sometimes very robust, very energetic, energy type forum, which conference becomes, you know, where sometimes people are more about issues of elections than policies. So we created a policy conference, and that's where some of the issues that were raised over the past few days will go, because they would have been, some of them, new issues on which there had never been policy before. And so the ANC says, okay, they've been raised for the first time, we don't have policy on this matter, but delegates of the ANC have a right to raise those issues in addition to having reviewed the areas around which we already have clear policy, but perhaps we have issues around which we are saying we need to engage. Maybe the way we've been dealing with this matter needs to change, and so on and so forth. So there are issues where we will go to the next policy conference, which is itself before the next, which is the 54th conference of the ANC. So that's the process of policy making in the ANC, and then that policy that would have been looked at and engaged on in the policy conference will go to be adopted only by the national conference with recommendations from the policy conference. So that's the process of the ANC.
All right. We look forward to unpacking some of the issues that did come out and some of the review points and notes that we should take cognizance of. Secretary General Gwede Mantashe, on Friday you gave the organizational report, and I guess it's been a talking point. People look at the numbers and so on and so forth. What is the state of the organization? I know you've said that, you know, liberation organizations, once they hit the 20-year mark, they start to feel the pinch a little bit. What is the state of the organization in your view?
The section of the National General Council that dealt with organizational renewal and the balance of forces went into details. And our assessment is that the ANC is healthy. It lives and it leads. But we must always pay attention to the membership and the structures of the ANC, because that is the vehicle through which we implement our program as an organization, as a liberation movement. As far as we're concerned, I think we put a lot of emphasis on numbers instead of the health of the organization. And not appreciate the fact that mid-term and Jessie, when it comes to membership, people get lax in terms of renewing membership and all that, because membership doesn't give any voting powers in the NGC. But the organization is quite healthy. Actually, we ran one of the best NGCs in the ANC. Very disciplined delegation, people participating all the time. And I think if you want to understand that health of the organization, you will see in the outcome of the various commissions, policy issues, whether it is the economic one, we deal with real issues, rural development, whether you deal with social transformation, all of them reflect the health of the organization, because you have, out of the 3,000 delegates to that NGC, 2,500 are from the branches of the ANC. So you get the views of the branch delegates. The quality of contribution of the branch delegates reflect the health of the organization, and the quality of their contribution will be reflected in the outcomes of the various commissions, which reflect subcommittees of the ANC. And I think we'll publicize all those documents for people to read and continue engaging us. And as you read them, remember these were outcomes of the contribution of branch delegates of the ANC.
All right. Deputy SG, Jessie Duarte, the numbers became a talking point and a focal point. You know, is it 800,000? Is it 1.2 million? The president said yesterday that, you know, by 2017, we're hoping to have 1.3 million members in good standing. Sort out the numbers for us and just sort of put it into a context.
Peter, you know, that wasn't our preoccupation, quite frankly speaking. We mentioned the numbers in the organizational report because we have to be honest to the branch members of the ANC. On our database, on the 10th of October, we had 1.3 million members in the database. Now, that doesn't take into account people who haven't, it takes into account everybody. So when we look at that, we subtract from that people who have been in the organization for only 6 months and those who may not have renewed their membership over a long period of time. So the real figure now, if we had a conference tomorrow, the figure we would work on is 1.2 million. We would audit that figure properly. We would go branch by branch. We would look at who's in good standing, who hasn't renewed membership. But we also have been asked by the NGC now to ensure that we go back to everybody on the database and remind them to renew. And that's quite important. So in this NGC, we close the books of the ANC, if you want to put it that way. Maybe that will help. Okay. On the 30th of April 2015. And at the time we closed the books, a number of people had not renewed their membership. There were a number of new members that were in the organization for only 6 months. And of course, quite frankly speaking, there was gatekeeping, where a number of people who would have liked to renew their membership were simply not reminded that they had expired. So all of those matters, the NGC has now directed us as the SGO to go and deal with that, and we said we will do so as of now. We have it's a huge task, but our membership structure and our membership system has been upgraded. The president was printed a membership card for himself directly from a little suitcase, basically. So we're in good shape. We think we're ready to mobilize the balance of the membership who may be feeling left out.
All right. Okay. So thank you for clearing that up. And we're going to unpack some of the issues that did come through. But just before that, another report, Treasurer General, that was delivered on Friday was the financial report. And I don't know how much you can share with us about that. We did hear the President on Thursday looking for money. I'm wondering if the ANC is in good financial state.
The simplest answer is yes.
Okay.
The ANC's finances are in good state. What the President was referring to is the fact that the ANC does not generate its own finances. It depends on the goodwill of all the supporters. These could be individuals, this could be private business, and of course part of it comes from the state funding. And so we have to every now and again go out there and appeal to people to support their organization. I can only say to you they've done so.
Okay.
And so from where we sit, the ANC is in a comfortable situation.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll start unpacking some of the outcomes of the NGC, what was decided, what came through, and some of the big words that came through as well. Factionalism, bulk buying, all of these kinds of things came through. Let's unpack those and see where that takes us. And you can be part of that conversation as well. At Morning Live SABC, we look forward to hearing your thoughts. Stay with us.